Another episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. What's up? My name is Justin. Kevin, not on this one. He's in Arizona.
Is that where he is? I just thought he had like a final or something.
Nope, he's in Arizona. I think he went to go audition for the Phoenix Suns head coach job.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, he's got a good shot considering like some of the names are being thrown out there.
Yes, and so obviously that voice, if you're not familiar, is Chase. Chase has been on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
I think once with me, but numerous times with Kevin.
Yes.
Has some fiery hot takes and has a podcast of his own.
Yes.
Feel free to plug it if you
called
like.
Bunkers Burning Hot Take, where I've had Kevin on a few times as well. Where I'm like, all right, I need NBA. Let's get Kevin on.
Tell me the NBA stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
So there has been a lot of NBA stuff that we do need to cover.
Mm-hmm.
The way this episode is going to kind of flow is we will hit the playoffs. There's a lot to talk about there, so that's going to be the meat of the episode. But we normally do these warm up jumpers, is what we usually call them. Some warm up topics, because there has been a lot of other non NBA playoff news going on. A few of them just being the first one fitting tonight as of recording this podcast. So you listening will probably already know the result of this. Could potentially be the last day of multiple NBA games until next season. I think if the Celtics win and at least one of Nuggets, Knicks close out their series in 6, then today is the last day with multiple games. If the Cavs win tonight, then there's 2 games Friday, and Sunday, if everything went real crazy, there could be 3 games, and all would be game 7s, which would be pure chaos. I don't think we get there.
No, we won't. I like that. That would be a great day for us.
Yeah.
But our wives would also just hate it.
Yeah. But Sunday. Okay. No, I would be okay Sunday. Saturday is my kid's birthday party. So Saturday is going to be a little tough.
Wait, hold on. Why wasn't I invited?
I didn't really invite anybody.
Okay.
It's like a 1-year-old birthday party. People don't really.
That's true. What do you do at a 1-year-old birthdays?
Drink.
Okay. I was going to say, are you allowed to drink?
We're doing it at the beach. So it's like, just go enjoy the beach and then like watch this kid try to eat a cake for the first time and enjoy sugar for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that day is going to go.
You're just like, and then that's about it.
You take a few pics and then you move on.
Yeah,
and
right.
You make a bunch of one puns and you move on from there.
Taking notes.
Yep. So the other thing would be a few coaches getting fired. Darvin Ham, Frank Vogel are both out as head coaches for the Phoenix Suns and for the Lakers, respectively. We'll talk with Darvin Ham, or talk about Darvin Ham first, I guess. The Lakers, they made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. Obviously bounced in the in-season tournament this year. I was watching Cam Newton's reaction to Charles Barkley talking about how...
What a stretch. Watching Cam Newton react to Charles Barkley. I was watching Marshawn Lynch reacting to Carl Lewis's sprint on, while also listening to Ricky Henderson's record-breaking steal on third base.
And what he was essentially defending Darvin Ham, saying like he shouldn't be the reason they go. He's being a scapegoat, which is fine. That happens with head coaches. But what from the Lakers did we see this season from, I guess, a head coaching position that warranted another chance?
I feel like this one's always tough, because I felt like Darvin Ham didn't deserve to be fired, but then there was also a lot of times that I would watch the Lakers playoff games and there would be the other team would just go on a really long run and
there would
be no timeouts. Like, okay, they're going to call a timeout here. Okay. Nope. All right. We're going to keep going. And then all of a sudden it's a 30-5 run. And now Darvin Ham's calling a timeout.
And I know there is that video going around of him trying to, I guess, what looks like him trying to draw up a play in a timeout. No one paying attention. He doesn't really ever actually do it. So take that for what it is. Again, there are a lot of names being thrown out for the Lakers. I know JJ Redick was one of them at one point. I just feel like I guess a lot depends on what the Lakers' goals are and where they look like they're headed. LeBron James staying is a big part of that.
Yeah.
So I think but like a JJ Redick, to me, I don't think you have room for a rookie coach like that.
No, we've seen what happens now with the first time coach with Darvin Ham, and it didn't work out. Like I understand the rationale behind the JJ Redick move. You bring in JJ Redick because he has a podcast already with LeBron.
Yeah,
but the thing is that the chemistry is there, but there's also already the favoritism that's built in. By the way, like LeBron, great player, greatest player. You can have that argument as well. Like, so you can kind of favor towards him, but at the same time, there is going to be a little bit of a slight going in because they're like, okay, who's really the coach? Is it JJ Redick? Is it LeBron?
Yeah.
I know that Mike Budenholzer has been thrown around his name was thrown around a few times at the time. But the thing is, I'm looking at this, and maybe you might not agree with me. Is it a good job? Because you're going into a very high-profile situation with the Lakers. You may or may not have LeBron. You have Anthony Davis, but
what does that?
Like, how much longer are you going to have Anthony Davis? And other than LeBron and AD, you have sometimes Austin Reeves. You may or may not have D'Angelo Russell. Like, it's a very volatile situation. And I think some veteran coaches are looking at it going, I don't want to risk my reputation with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of some of the other names that were thrown out. Assistant coaches from the Denver Nuggets. I think Sixers were on there.
I think Borrego was on there as well.
Yep. And Minnesota Timberwolves assistant coach. Like, there was a lot of assistant coach.
Was Thanos on there?
I didn't see him on this list, but I think you got to consider everyone. And I don't know. I just don't know what you want to do if you are I guess the problem is you need the head coach so you have an idea of where you're going, but you also need to have an idea of where you're going, because if LeBron's out, then maybe JJ Redick does make sense because your timetable of what you're trying to accomplish kind of changes. And so I could understand it there. I just think you need to. It's like, I don't know which one you need to figure out first, but you got to figure out one of them first. You got to take a leap, I guess, in one direction with the players or with a coach. And when you do that, you're going to kind of show your hand for the other one.
But I think also if you're JJ Redick, it would require you leaving an ESPN job that, let's be honest, is very cushy for him. Like, and he's even said multiple times on multiple shows, he's really likes what he's doing.
Good. Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's worth, like, he would have to get paid a lot of money for him to leave and deal with the stresses of that.
Yep. So the other side, Frank Vogel out. Phoenix was supposed to be a big three, got eliminated by the Minnesota Timberwolves pretty easily.
Yeah, it was no contest really. Like, Minnesota was a much better team, and who would have thought when you get rid of all of your depth that you had when you made it to the finals a few years ago, you're suddenly not a good team.
So to that, you got a lot of money locked in on the big three. You know, there's rumors about potential places KD could go or wants to go or whatnot. So Vogel was kind of really the only option in terms of the scapegoat and what you're going to do when you are the ownership of the Phoenix Suns. I know Stephen A. Smith came out recently and said that Durant went more than an entire month without talking to Frank Vogel. So if that's the case, maybe there was a locker room disconnect.
Big if true.
Yeah, right. You don't want that. So, like, if you are looking at the Lakers and you're looking at the Suns and you're a coach, where do you prefer to go?
Lakers. Because the fact that the reason I say the Lakers is because there is at least something there. Like, I can't picture this Phoenix Suns team making it to the second round anytime in the near future unless they hit on draft.
Okay.
Because of the fact that there is at least, like I said before, you have Austin Reeves. If you may or may not get D'Angelo Russell back, you may or may not get LeBron back because LeBron is also like, that's also, I'm basing this on recent reports that LeBron is leaning towards staying. We might talk about that in a little bit later. Plug. And so the thing is, like I mentioned with the Suns, you have Bradley Beal, who is good, when he's healthy. The key word is when he's healthy. Who knows how long that will last. Devin Booker, I love Devin Booker. I will usually argue for Devin Booker when on most like top numbers, top 10, top 15, and all that. And of course, there's Kevin Durant. He's Kevin Durant. And then that's it. So I'm heavily relying on those. So God forbid one of those people get hurt.
It's done. But from a you have 3 guaranteed stars who might be easier to build around, where the Lakers, you don't. There's so many ifs.
Yes.
And that part scares me a little bit. I kind of thought you were going to say the Suns right off the rip.
I wanted to, but it's that depth. Like what the playoffs have shown us is if you have depth, if you have a bench, you will go far.
And I think the Knicks are a big example of you not necessarily needing a big 3.
Right.
Like the Suns tried to accomplish with KD. Something else that Kevin and I had a decent argument about was because it was rumored that KD would want to go to OKC. And OKC is another team we'll talk about in the playoffs right now with the Mavs. Series is tied 2-2. If that would be perceived as like a homecoming, the way that LeBron was when he went back to Cleveland, I kind of said no, because the Thunder are the best team in the West record-wise, and so it wouldn't feel that way. And they already have their decent amount of players and budding stars that you'd either have to trade to get them or however you'd figure that out. And Kevin's point was with the Cavs, you had Kyrie, Kevin Love came over, so it's still a big 3.
And Cleveland wasn't that good.
Right. The problem I have is KD went to the Warriors when they were the best team in the West.
Yes.
And now the Thunder are the best team in the West.
Yes.
And you go to the West. So that's where I have the holdup, is like, I couldn't get behind it. It wouldn't. I'm sure OKC would love it. It'd be a thing, but like I would just be like, no, dude, no.
It's because I don't know KD's contract, because he's still there, I believe, for 2 more seasons with the Suns. You would have to give up so much, and at that point, why blow up your core?
Yeah,
when you
especially from what you've seen, you don't need to blow up the core. Although I guess the argument could be made is you use some of those budding pieces if you don't think they're part of the future, to land a guy like KD to add that next star, to take them. A veteran presence for a team that's very young could also be part of it. I don't know if KD necessarily lands as like the locker room veteran presence guy, but that could also be a part.
And let's be honest, like let's imagine a deal, right? Like just without even thinking, let's just imagine a deal. You and I both agree Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on the table. Like that would have to be offered. And that's the thing, is I don't think OKC is willing to do that. I wouldn't want to get rid of a young Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with a like
MVP conversation player. Yeah.
And then it's Kevin Durant, who, by the way, Kevin Durant is great in his own right. Like he is still a great top 10 player. But he's also getting up in years.
Yeah.
We don't know how much time is left. I don't know if the retirement word is being flirted around. I don't know anything. I'm just saying, like, hey, he's getting up there.
At some point that conversation happens.
Yes.
So you mentioned draft picks. The draft lottery drawing, which is my least favorite sports event ever, happened. And the Atlanta Hawks got the number 1 pick. They had a 3% chance to do that. I feel like everybody should be pissed off, but here we are. It's their, I think it's, they've never won this event in the franchise history.
And they still didn't. And they still didn't. Like this was like, I know you're supposed to establish everything. What did you think and all that? But like, first off, this was probably, and maybe it's because I'm an Orlando Magic fan and I don't have to think about the lottery right now.
Nice, right?
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that like this draft class is probably like the weakest in recent years. It's not like you have last year with Victor Wembanyama, or 2 years ago when you had Paolo, Chet, and Jabari Smith Jr. as all 3 very good arguments to go number 1 overall. And so the Hawks, the one time they get it, There's no franchise changers on this. Like, let me ask you this: who had the bigger L? The Hawks getting the first overall pick on a very weak draft class, or the Detroit Pistons again with the worst record in the league getting again the 5th pick?
I think the Pistons have some beef to talk about there, because I would be pissed. Now, from the Hawks standpoint, if you're not the first 2 people I think of is the big men. If you're moving on from Clint Capella, or you want to trade Clint Capella, use that to get more whatever. If you don't think they're going to go 1 or 2 or whatever it is, then maybe it is like a situation where the Sixers traded up, or I guess in the case of the Celtics, trading back with the Tatum and Fultz stuff. You just move back a little bit, get some more out of it. Like, there are options for the Hawks. I mean, when you have the number 1 pick, you do have that kind of luxury. Just to run it down, Hawks had the number 1 pick. Washington Wizards have the number 2 pick, which I also believe they haven't had. I believe they won the lottery in 2010 where they took John Wall. The last time they had the number 2 pick, they were actually the Bullets in 1968. Wes Unseld won Rookie of the Year and NBA MVP in 1996, 1 year after that.
I thought for a second it was going to be when they drafted Otto Porter Jr., but I think that was when he had the 3rd. I think he was 3rd.
I think he was the 3rd pick, actually. I think you're right. I do weirdly remember that. So then 3rd pick in the draft goes to the Rockets, who also could have an argument for getting pretty lucky there, which is good for them, because I think there could be some interesting things they do, because they're ready to start turning the page towards winning.
They should be turning the corner soon. I think if the West wasn't as stacked as it was, they probably, I think if the Rockets were over on the East, I think they would have at least made a play in.
Yeah. So we'll see where they go. And also the San Antonio Spurs being right after them is kind of cool. See if they can add some, I don't think the word's depth, but another 1 or 2 players around, because they also do have the Raptors pick, which was protected, but just landed outside the protection zone.
Oh, wow.
So San Antonio Spurs are going to have 2 higher picks. I believe it's number 1 and number 7. Number 1 and number 7 were the best case scenario for them to land both picks. That was 1 in 30 odds. I believe I had it written down here. Where'd it go? Raptors have the 19th pick, so they'll have, what is that, 5 and 19?
Okay,
which will be nice. The Raptors have 19. Let me get this right. The Raptors have 19 with the Pascal Siakam trade to the Pacers, so they have the 19th pick, but they lost their earlier pick by falling outside of the top 6. So the San Antonio Spurs will have number 1 and whichever one, I'm not seeing it on here, that they have earlier in the draft.
That was an NBA soap opera love triangle. It was like, I felt like I was just listening to the basketball equivalent to All My Children.
Yeah, well,
Erica Kane right now also got the Pacers pick, but however, Sonny Corinthos couldn't get, I think that was a different soap opera.
But I know, the article I was reading didn't really sound like they were too upset about Toronto not getting their highest pick in the draft. But if a team needs a pick right now, Toronto's one of them. Yeah, they're rebuilding. So it was protected and it landed outside. So whatever. But it's like, dude, that kind of stinks a little bit for a team that really could just really use 2 early first round picks.
Yeah, that whole scenario over in Toronto now, I guess it works out in the end because you got the championship, but man, you really set yourself back. And the thing is, it sucks that you set yourself back because you have a really good, talented player in Scotty Barnes, but you're not getting the right pieces to complement him. And it sucks that you also got rid of Pascal Siakam, who was a good piece, but you didn't know if he was going to resign, and OG Anunoby. And so you got rid of both of those. And so, you're clearly in rebuild mode, but you can't do it with this draft.
No. Well, and that's a big part of it too. You can't, if the draft is weaker, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of it that ends up being that star. Or
watch this be like that 04 draft with LeBron, Carmelo, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade.
Look at all these guys.
Darko.
Oh yeah,
They're all Darko.
They're all Darko.
Oops, all Darkos.
All right. So last little warm up thing, and then we can jump right into the playoff stuff. Although I guess I still have to do the intro now that we are 20 minutes into the episode.
Oh yeah, what's this podcast called?
Yep. So hold on here. Hold your horses, because the Knicks are apparently preparing to offer Thibs a long-term extension this offseason, which according to Shams, the rumor is approaching the 10 mil annually to remain their head coach. Again, I think deserving now from what we've seen from the Knicks. Although he was, what was he named the coach you'd least like to play for?
Yeah, because he wears players down. Like, it's surprising to see like a Tibbs run team that's actually relatively healthy in the postseason.
Well, because they're young, but they are playing some dumb minutes. Like, the minutes are dumb, and we could go. I know there's a lot of Knicks fans that listen to this podcast. And
I'm happy for you.
This is so funny. This is such a Philly thing, right? And Kevin probably disagrees with me wholeheartedly. All my family, after the Sixers got bounced by the Knicks, I had to go up there for a funeral. So I was talking to them, and they're like, well, you know, like, all these guys, they played for Nova. So it's kind of cool to root for them, the Nova Knicks. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. No.
I'm normally like, I usually root against like the big name teams. So like, I hate the Lakers. Well, also because of, you know, Shaq moving and all that, and also beating us in 2009.
Dwight Howard too, kind of.
Yeah, the Dwight Mayer. And so Dwight Howard come back to the Magic, by the way. I usually root against the Knicks. Like the Yankees, I'll root against them. Like the bigger name, the popular bandwagon teams. But this Knicks team with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, especially, this has to be like the most likable Knicks team. And so like I'm going up against everything that I hate. It, but like at the same time, like I remember they said when they beat the Magic, they said, look, we did not want to be on the Magic TikTok with like, it's a banger. We didn't want to.
Orlando Magic.
We didn't want to be on it. And it's like, you know what? Like, I respect it. And so, like, even when the Magic won in Game 6, Josh Hart tweeted out, wakes up, opens Orlando Magic TikTok. It's like the guy is like, it's
you're literally competing with him right now.
Yeah. And so, like, I love like that little aspect of it. And so, I'm happy for this Knicks team. And you know what? I hate to say it. It reminds me of the Jeremy Lin era when like when Linsanity happened. Basketball's more fun when the Knicks are good. Like I hate saying it, but like it's kind of true. That Linsanity run was fun, and this now, it's kind of fun.
So let's go right into the Knicks and Pacers game.
Right.
Before we do that, you are listening to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast.
That's what this is called. I've been saying Dish and Drive the entire time.
I also found out there's a podcast called Dish, and I guess it's about food.
Oh, who'd have thought?
But Dua Lipa was on it the other day.
And, did your numbers skyrocket?
Yeah, we are through the roof right now. Dua Lipa not going to guest on this podcast probably ever.
I thought you almost got Darvin Ham on this podcast earlier. It's like, whoa, what a get.
Well, he's not doing anything else. He's free.
That's true.
All right. So Knicks, they lead the series 3-2. The last two games have been blowouts from both sides.
Yes.
Brunson is cooking with 40 points after 40-point performance. The Knicks have kind of switched it up from what I've seen, and they are really targeting him in terms of screen setting, because I guess he doesn't really like to work around them as much, and it seems to be throwing them off. The winner of Game 5, for reference, usually goes on to win the series 82% of the time.
Yes.
So if you just want to play a numbers game, that's that. Do you think this is over by next game, which I believe plays tomorrow for us? And as of, podcast clarity, I think that would be the 16th.
I think the Knicks finish it off.
Okay.
I thought Tyrese Halliburton looked a little lost out there. And I think also the big thing was the fact that Isaiah Hartenstein almost out-rebounded the entire Pacers team.
Yep.
Like, if you look, here's the funny thing. If you look at the shot percentage, The shot percentages are close. I think the Knicks were 46, and I think the Pacers were 43.
I can tell you. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. So are you talking about for the series or
just this last game?
Okay.
I think the Knicks, I think in game 5, the Knicks were 46 and they were 43. But the shot difference, it was like 108 to 72. And it was because Isaiah Hartenstein had like 17 bleeping rebounds.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can't, the shots have to go in. That's one thing. But you have to rebound the ball.
Yep.
And when you have Isaiah Hartenstein just getting the ball all over the place, there's nothing you can do. And so that opened up second chance points. It also stopped a whole bunch of possessions for the Pacers, so they couldn't get second chance points. And I think if Isaiah Hartenstein keeps this up, it doesn't matter if the Knicks are shooting well, if they're getting at least second chances or extending possessions, that's it.
Yeah, for the series right now, the Knicks are out rebounding the Pacers 42.2 to 37.8. So yeah, I mean a good distance, because if you look at the rest of the stats, everything else is very close. I mean, assists are a little more on the Pacers side, but after that, they're pretty much tied up. Pacers got a little bit better 3-point percentage. They're at 42%. Knicks are at 38%, but that's kind of, we know that. Yeah, man, I think if anybody got themselves paid this playoffs, it is Hartenstein.
Yes.
And I thought that back with the Sixers, and he has just continued that. So you would imagine he'll continue it more. It will be interesting to see, because they won't be able to do as much small ball lineup potentially against the Celtics. I'm assuming that's where we get to. I almost want to jump the gun and just say the Celtics win this thing.
Just jump the gun. Donovan Mitchell isn't playing, so granted, I know you and I've talked off air where we said the Celtics sometimes just like to lose one game randomly.
They did it with the Heat, and it's why would you play with your food? Why even just give them a chance? I wouldn't do it, and they did it. But I'm pretty sure that Celtics Cavs series is essentially over. I believe the game's actually tonight as of recording this, so most likely by the time listening, it'll be over.
Or Freezing Cold Takes is going to have a really good clip.
Or Freezing Cold Takes is going to put us on blast.
Yeah. Nice guy, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah, super nice guy.
Oh, well, why has he got to be putting people on blast then?
I mean, it's fun. It's kind of funny seeing, I've had some bad takes I look back and I just laugh at. I'm like, wow, that was really bad. I've had some bad takes on this show that were really bad.
It's always interesting, because if you're saying stuff that people agree with, I've kind of noticed you don't hear too much feedback. But the second you say something spicy, or the second you say something that's not correct, you're told about it.
Oh, I know.
Immediately.
Oh, I know. I got a whole damn podcast about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there any other takeaway from the Celtics-Cavs game that you want to hit other than the Celtics are just going to win?
The fact that Donovan Mitchell will probably, I think, seeing this result will probably bolster Donovan Mitchell's argument of leaving, or requesting a trade, I should say, because he still has one more year left. I looked at the Magic game 6 as their ultimate reason, because he put up 50 and still lost. And yes, he won a game in the second round, but did he?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But did we, here's the other thing, I guess. Once the bracket was set, did we really think there was any chance they were going to get past this position right here, the second round?
No,
I don't think. I probably had even tried to put them out in the first round, but even so, I didn't see really any other team than the Celtics getting past this part of the bracket.
I had if the Magic won Game 7. I don't think they would have beaten the Celtics, but they would have made it a lot more interesting, and they probably would have made them vulnerable. Similar to how, I think the best example was when UCF lost to Duke in the NCAA tournament in, what was that, 2019, I believe. They kind of showed that vulnerability of, oh, wait a minute, if you make them shoot the three, they don't win. And that's when you saw Duke struggle against Virginia Tech. And then that's what Michigan State did. And that's what ultimately cost them. So they saw the vulnerability.
You showed what it was.
And then that would have shown whoever came out between the Knicks and Pacers to go, oh, that's how you beat them.
Yeah. So any other thoughts from the Knicks game? I mean, we're kind of working our way down the east side of things. If we believe, I mean, you may not, if you believe the Knicks get past the Pacers, Celtics, Knicks, then.
What a series.
Do you think it goes 7? Do you think it goes 6? Is it a fast one?
Oh, man. I want to say, for some reason, this is just thinking instinctively, Knicks in 6.
Wow.
I think the depth is a little bit better than Boston. Now the top players are much better.
Sure.
Like I like Tatum. I like Tatum more than Brunson and all that. But I think the
Would you take Brown over Brunson?
I would take Brunson over Brown. I think I would take, if we're judging based on ones, like I think the best players in that series, I think it's one Tatum with a bullet, and then it's Brunson.
I almost want to compare those players. Like, I know it'll be for the full season, but I am curious to see where Brunson and Brown compare. I'll see if I can pull that up.
I think if memory serves, I think Tatum has a higher point average this season.
Okay.
But I think also Brunson played more games than Tatum. Because I think Brunson averaged like 33 points this season, and he played like 77 games. And I think there's a few people that are higher, but they also played like 12 games, or not 12 games less. Excuse me. They played like 70 games.
Okay.
If memory serves me.
I was spelling Jason Tatum's name wrong I didn't put a Y.
You didn't put the Y? Yeah, you got to put the Y. It's like Jason Williams, not like Jason Williams.
All right. Interesting. So, I guess this is all time, which isn't going to help me. I almost need to see. All right, stats. Here we go. Games played, points. Tatum's got him on points. But again, Brunson's points, like if we're looking at, I need to see last season specifically.
Okay.
Because, I mean, obviously, if you take Brunson's game into account, he's playing very different game than he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Brunson has evolved this season. I think it's fair to judge him on this season rather than last season, because he didn't he was he played well, but he's not playing to this level. Right. It's like judging SGA last season. SGA was really good last season, but he's not SGA this season.
Right. Okay, here we go. 23-24 season.
All right.
Tatum, Brown. Okay, here we go. Yes, this is what we're looking for.
All right.
Both have played over 74 games. Jalen Brunson is at 77.
Okay.
Points per game. Brunson's got Tatum, 28 over 26. Total rebounds, not that it matters. Tatum has 8. Brunson has 3, which is expected. Brunson's a lot shorter.
Yep.
Six assists to 4.5 assists on Brunson's side of things. More steals, more blocks on Tatum's side. Percentages, field goal, 3-point, free throw, all on Brunson's side as better percentage. But what's interesting is the effective field goal percentage is better on the Tatum side of things, which confuses me off the rip. Box plus minus and VORP, Jalen Brunson.
But what about defensive rating?
Right.
Because I think that's a key thing, is that Jason Tatum defensively has gotten better this year. And I don't think a lot of people have really highlighted that as much. Jason
Tatum box plus minus, defensive box plus minus is a 0.6. Well, Brunson's is a negative 0.4. So there is a little bit of that into account. That's interesting, though. It's a lot closer than I thought it was. Yeah. Man, it's Jalen Brunson's. We were going to talk about. We might run out of time to do this, but talking about best player in the playoffs, who's really up their stock this year, and where Brunson lands in a list of the best players in the NBA list. Weirdly enough, I think he lands outside of the top 10. We were kind of doing that list earlier off mic. And again, we weren't looking at the stats. We were just kind of naming players that we think would probably land on a list before him.
Yeah, which, I mean, real quick, we can just go easily. Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Tatum.
But Tatum's...
we don't want to say Tatum yet. We'll just hold off. LeBron. Who else have we had on there?
Kawhi, Paul George. Steph Curry, we didn't say.
Oh, yeah, we didn't say Steph Curry. So we're at 6 right now.
Luka,
yes.
Kyrie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Jimmy Butler. Just I know I'm slighting somebody by not naming someone yet. Oh, Kevin, did we say Kevin Durant?
No, we didn't say Kevin Durant. So we're at 9 right now. Booker is, I think, when we start having the argument.
Okay, so we're close to 10 here.
We're close.
Kawhi?
I think you start having the argument with like it's almost as like you have like the transition tier. So it's like in that little transition tier, you can easily make an argument for Brunson, Booker, Kawhi, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Maxey. Yeah, no, you can make after Maxey carried a lot of that Sixers team.
He did.
And so when Embiid was gone. So I think you could definitely talk about Maxey. What do you talk about Anthony Edwards?
Oh, Ant's another one.
We didn't even talk about SGA.
SGA, yeah.
They're both literally MVP conversations.
So I think that's where you get, but I mean, and Brunson was probably at some, like they were mentioning him towards the end for the MVP stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like that's funny that like we went through all that and we didn't even talk about the people that were running up for MVP.
Two of the 3 people that were in the MVP conversation. Yeah.
And so I think that's the part you get kind of sketchy. Like I don't think
he lands top 10.
I don't think he is now. Like because it's like, do you think he's better than SGA? Do you think he's better than Anthony Edwards?
No.
Do you think he's better than Tatum?
I mean, the stats confuse me a little more. Mm-hmm. They've blurred it more than I thought it would.
Jimmy Butler?
Dude, you're also starting to talk injury and age with Jimmy.
Yeah. We didn't even mention Anthony Davis either, which I don't know. Like some people might have lowered him as well just because of his injury history as well. And so I think if you're not...
We didn't say Hallie, and I know Hallie's another conversation.
Yeah, I think I was going to say Hallie was top 20, but then I just rattled off all those 10 people, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know anymore.
So then I guess the question is, can you confidently say you think Brunson's top 15? Because we've rattled off a lot of people. We're definitely past 15 off those conversations.
Yeah.
And that's the part that hurts. Because this dude's dropping 40.
He's dropping 40. But like his defense isn't the greatest. And like that's like we say the same thing with Trae Young all the time. Where it's like Trae Young's really good offensively, but he's a traffic cone on defense. And so like now Brunson's better than Trae Young defensively, but like at the same time, it's like you gotta account to that. And so I can't confidently
we didn't say Wemby. We didn't say, and I know Wemby's early, but
I don't think Wemby's top 20.
No, but Chet, Wemby will be there at some point.
At some point, yeah. And I mean, at that point also, LeBron's going to be off and KD's going to be off.
That's
and so
fair.
like, I think you can also like, there's also,
Cat.
I think Cat's overrated.
Okay.
I think Cat might be top 30. And I think it's a respectable 30. Like, I don't hate Cat, but like, I'm taking a lot of people over Cat.
I get what you're saying. Man, we might have to make like an official list at some point.
We should. And I want to be a part of that list.
Yeah.
I feel like there could be
maybe one episode, like once the season's over, an episode is just the best NBA players of 2024.
Yes. I think we can say that.
That'll be fun.
I think I would look. I mean, I don't know why I'm forcing myself onto your show. I'm just going to like knock it. I'm going to crash your daughter's party as well. That's what I'm essentially doing now.
When are we doing this countdown? All right. So that we don't take up too much more time.
Yeah.
I also realized I never said where you can find the podcast. If you're listening, you probably already know, but we are available on all podcast platforms. And we are on YouTube. You can watch video version of the podcast. We're actually in person today, which might be why the audio sounds a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So it's a very weird setup, but still.
I'm not this pale if you're watching on YouTube.
The cameras we're working with are from the 1700s, apparently.
No, here's the funny thing is like I have cameras similar to this at home. And so whenever I used to be on Spectrum Sports for Face Off, they would, for some reason, I would be like white as a ghost for some reason. Like I'm a pale person, but I'm like
they would extra pale you up.
Oh my gosh. I'm practically transparent. And what's worse is I'm wearing a black suit. So the paleness really shows.
Yeah, you need to find like a background light or something. Get like an LED light.
I don't have one yet, but like I would like have like lighting around. Like I'd have a green screen behind me. It's like, hey, you could play something in the back. They don't do that either, which is like you could play Die Hard in the back. Why don't you
put something there?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk West Coast. OKC, Dallas Mavericks. I'm saving my favorite for last.
Okay.
We're gonna talk that one last.
Okay, good.
OKC wins the first game. Mavericks win the second one. Mavericks win the third one, which made everyone go, oh, maybe they are too young and still learning this thing. And then they tie it up.
Game 4 was the big one. Like that was because I thought the same thing. And then it was like 6 minutes left. And then all of a sudden, like SGA goes off. Chet starts making threes. And like, oh, okay, this team now has now the resiliency that they needed to get past this.
Now, again, the next game of this series will have been decided by you hearing this, just because I'm probably not going to be able to edit in time and get it posted in time. So game 5 will be decided. But I always love when we run into these situations, trying to make a few predictions about game 5. So the person listening now knows what happened.
I'm going to say, hold on, let me hedge my bets. Wow, I can't believe OKC pulled that off.
Crazy last second buzzer beater.
I know. I can't believe they pulled that off. Man, look at Dallas start emerging after that loss. That's resiliency. That's what Jason Kidd does to that team, is he's bringing the resiliency back. You know, they could have folded. Good bounce back win.
Bounce back for Kyrie too. Slow game last game. He really turned it around.
Kyrie had a decent performance, but then that second half though.
Yeah.
All right. I think we covered ourselves.
Oh, and wait. SGA really continued the momentum from last game into this game. It was totally the reason they
SGA had a game.
Yes. They balled out, if you will.
I love that one call that Kevin Harlan said, and it was Great. There you go.
All right, so we'll leave Thunder Mavericks be.
Is Kevin Harlan going to be on the call? I don't know. I think, oh no, I ruined it. Darn Iron Eagle.
I will say, that loss, letting OKC tie it up does feel like the Mavs missed a great opportunity. Go up 3-1. They're a younger team, so they're going to get a little tense, and you really could have just closed it out. Now you got a battle on your hands. It will be interesting to see what they do.
Yep.
Now to what I think has been the most entertaining matchup in the second round. It is the Denver Nuggets and the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves came out so hot.
Oh, they were.
2 big wins, holding the Nuggets to very low points. The defense was, I think they were actually the end of the season, the number 1 defense in the league, showing it. And then all of a sudden, Jokic and the guys bounce back and hold them under 91 points and drop 117 of their own. And then Jokic gets the MVP award and goes, let me just really show you why I got this thing. Puts on a clinic against Rudy Gobert, who was doing phenomenal defense, by the way.
And was the defensive player of the year.
And but you look at those places, like, that's good defense. Like, there's nothing you can do about that.
He looked at that and goes, I'm going to end your career. Aaron Gordon had a moment as well where he just tried to dunk on him. He got fouled. It's like, man, he almost ended.
He wanted to, but Aaron Gordon's done a few of those this year. Like, these just career-altering dunks on people.
Like here's the thing about like Jokic, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world.
He hates basketball.
not only that, but it's like you're going to have hand in your face no matter what, and you're just like, oh no, shot clock's running, and he's just like at the 3-point line, 2 seconds, 1 second. He's like, all right, whatever, and he's just like, I'm just gonna get it up there, and it just goes in. And it reminded me of the Lakers last season when it's just like, all right, whatever, and he just like chucks it up in the air, and it just goes in. He has the ugliest shot in the world. It's like, remember when like LeVar Ball had that one like motion where he would like flip it out to the right, and then he would like shoot it up for some reason, and like it's almost like that ugly, and it just goes in. It's like, did this man just reinvent basketball? Like Steph Curry reinvented the 3-point line.
This guy has figured something out.
He figured out the new shot, and it's holding it back behind your head and just become a trebuchet.
Yep. And I guess from a defensive mindset on the Nuggets side, it was just throw so many different bodies at Anthony Edwards so that you're fresh, you have the energy, you're good to go. And I mean, held them to 18 points last game. That's a big part of it. So,
the other key thing was that the Timberwolves just they look frazzled. They don't know how to respond yet to
that.
Just like they don't. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you can't respond to Jokic, even though the Orlando Magic did twice. But like the fact still stands was like whenever there was a surge, they couldn't respond.
Yeah.
Or whenever whenever the T-Wolves went on a run, then it's 3 offensive fouls. They couldn't stop getting in their own way, and that's what they're doing now. I don't want to say that they believed the hype, but I think the ego kind of got away a little bit. It's like, okay, 2-1, whatever. We still got this. Okay, 2-2. Okay. Anthony Edwards is doing some chirping. By the way, probably the nicest chirper out there just because it's like he'll talk that crap, but then he'll also just be like completely respectful in the post game.
Yeah, because like you saw him and KD going at it, and then they're like totally cool, which I was all about. So next game is on the 16th. It's Thursday night. Is the series over on Friday morning? Or do we have a game 7 on my birthday, Sunday?
Ooh. This is going to be game 6 is at Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I keep forgetting if they went 2-2-1-1 or if they did 2-3-2.
I think they did 2-2.
That always
it's at Timberwolves. Yep.
It's not okay. I always forget that for some reason. I think Minnesota responds. I think we're going to get the Anthony Edwards 50-pointer, and then we're going to go to 7 on your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And it's going to just be an all-out brawl because we're going to see, like, the Timberwolves have never been in this situation before, and I won't lie, I kind of like seeing desperate Anthony Edwards because you know that he's just going to go off.
I kind of think my hot take, whoever wins this series wins the whole thing.
I think so too.
Wins it all. Regardless.
Yes.
If the Timberwolves come out, they're going to be so amped and so like hardened from beating the Nuggets that I think they're just the Celtics are going to run into a storm they're not ready for.
Yeah. I
think that'd be awesome. I also don't think there's any chance that like the Mavericks do anything. Like Mavericks, okay, I don't know. Neither of those teams give me confidence to beat the Celtics. These two teams give me the confidence.
I look at, but like if this, I pretty much agree. I don't know why I'm stuttering and stammering. Like the no one has a response to Jokic if Denver wins, and I think Gobert is like, he's just going to stop whoever they want put on him. And I think Anthony Edwards is going to be the more dominant offensive player. The
number one defense will show through again. I think people, not that they've forgotten, but I think Denver scoring the way that they've been scoring has made people forget that Timberwolves defense is the best in the league. And other teams are going to have to take a second to adjust to it, which is what I think Denver had to do. It took them 2 games.
Well, they adjusted the Aaron Gordon offense. Like ever since they made that adjustment, put Aaron Gordon,
more pick and rolls, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we're seeing the result now because of it. And Aaron Gordon's been, I'm happy for Aaron Gordon. Like seeing him thrive. I'm glad they won the championship, but just seeing him now in this role, it's like, oh, this is what you were supposed to be. And it's like, you just needed like more complementary players to do all of this. So I'm happy for him. And I think the adjustment is what paid off.
So we will see where the NBA goes. We'll be back with another episode next week. I believe Kevin and I are going to be able to get our schedules to align, and we'll get a full episode out recapping what will most likely be the results of round 2. If you want to hear that, obviously subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening. We are on all podcast platforms. If you prefer to watch video versions of the podcast, I know Kevin and I normally do an immaculate grid at the end. I wasn't positive that was going to work with this setup. So,
I mean, I could just guess, and that's about it.
Yeah, so we won't do that here. But again, the podcast is on YouTube. Just search Drive and Dish NBA. You can subscribe there. You get video versions of the podcast. When we do post the episodes, it will send you a notification letting you know an episode's coming out, like it would if you subscribe to the podcast. We will be back next week.